Welcome to Talmudic Treasures. Today we're learning Yevamot, page 80. And here we discuss an individual who is called a sris, which is an individual that is showing no signs of physical maturity. And because of that, the Torah has a completely different approach as to when or if they are ever obligated if they do certain things which are violations in the Torah. Now, this is an important concept because we know that a child becomes bar or bat mitzvah at the ages of 13 or 12 respectively. And here actually the Talmud says the reason for the age differences between a boy and a girl is because of how fast a boy matures as opposed to how fast a girl matures. And that's the reason why a bat mitzvah, at that point they are a daughter of doing mitzvot, which means they now are obligated to do mitzvot, is because they actually are able to show signs of physical maturity, which in the language of the Talmud, they are able to produce shtei sarot, namely 2 pubic hairs. And there is an assumption, of course, that that is the situation. But that's why when it comes to a boy, we wait until 13, a year later, because it takes more time typically for a boy to develop physically than a girl. And interestingly enough, because this person is not capable of producing these signs of physical maturity, they do not have the same obligations or necessarily receive the punishments. Instead, we wait until they are 20 years old, and as they are no longer able to show signs of maturity, at that point they're considered a sris, and there are certain laws. In the event that they would potentially do chalitza or yibum, we say that they do not. Or if the woman is what's called an islandess, that she shows no physical signs of maturity, also chalitza and yibum will not be performed. And the reason for it is logical because the whole purpose of it is in order to be able to perpetuate your deceased brother, his name, by having a child with this woman. So if you or the woman can't have a child, so then chalitza or yibum just doesn't apply. But the Talmud also tells us that we can actually see by some basic signs as to whether or not this person may actually fall into the category of a sris or an islandess. For example, when it comes to a man, in addition to not showing any physical signs of having these 2 hairs, it's also possible that when they are engaged in urinating, that it will not come out as an arch in a distance, but rather it will trickle out. The same thing when they have a seminal emission, we say that by seeing the way that this takes place, it will also determine that this person really is not capable of producing offspring. And ultimately, the Talmud says that in addition to the 2 hairs, another thing is their voice. That if it is something which you cannot discern between a man and a woman, their voice is not deep or soft like a man or a woman, that is another sign that potentially this person is a sris or an islandess, and all these various laws apply.